So there has been a TOA reset, and there have been some changes that some people have found a little bit disappointing, maybe a step backwards, and more difficult. The difficulty has been increased. There are a lot more people who are now struggling with TOA, and specifically the hazard towers, making sure they can clear everything. It's become a little bit harder, and there's one specific reason why that is the case, and it is this thing right here, right at the top. Enemy glacial resistance and aero resistance are decreased by 10%, and their electro resistance and havoc resistance are increased by 10%. Now, this is very interesting. I'm going to be straight up blatantly honest with you. This is not a good change. To me, this is not a good change. This is a step in the wrong direction. One of the better things about TOA was the fact that this previously didn't exist. This was not a thing. Right now, Glacio and Aero basically have a buff. They have a buff, right? And Electro and Havoc have a debuff to them. So using your Shangli Yaos, using your Yinlins, using your Camellias, your Havoc Rovers, it's all a bit more of a pain in the arse, shall they say. It makes it a little bit more frustrating. It makes you have to consider your teams a lot more. Maybe build characters you wouldn't have previously done so. Use team compositions for other towers you wouldn't previously maybe have done. And overall, it's just increase the difficulty of Hazard Tower for this reason, okay? So why is it a bad thing? Well, I'll tell you why it's a bad thing. Because it's a downgrade from what we had before in the 1.0 patches, which was this, okay? This is just an example, okay? Attribute damage bonus increased by 30%. 30%, okay? That's insane. That's insane. A 30% attribute damage bonus for everybody. So universally, every character, every DPS had a buff. It didn't matter who you used. It didn't matter what it was. Every character was treated equally in the same way. They were treated equally in the same way. But now, not only have we lost the 30% damage attribute bonus, instead, there's no damage bonuses. There are only resistance changes. Okay. So we've got Glacial and Aero resistance are decreased by 10%, and Electro and Havoc increased by 10%. Now, do you think that makes up, these two, the Glare and Aero, makes up for the damage bonus attribute increased by 30%? That's something up for discussion. That's something up for discussion. But overall, it's become harder. Because of this, it has become harder. Not only are you locked behind, maybe, well, not locked, but it's a lot harder to brute force your way through, like using a Camellia or using a Shangli Yao. It's a lot harder to brute force it, but you're no longer getting the bonus attribute damage from in general. So that's why people are finding Hazard a little bit more frustrating, and I don't like this change. The damage attribute overall bonus was the best thing about the TOA because it was very future-proof. It was very future-proof, and it meant that we didn't have to worry. It meant that we didn't have to worry. Hey, listen, if they got rid of the damage attribute bonus, so be it, right? But the problem is specifically targeting characters feels kind of shit. Feels really shit, and you know why? Because Electro and Havoc were the banners that we just previously had. We had Yinlin, we had Shangli Yao that were just on a banner. We had Camellia that was also on the previous patch too. So the most recent characters that you got from the last banner are now the worst to use in the new patch. And surprise, surprise, Glacio is on the top. Obviously, because it's Carlotta's banner. It is now moving towards that direction of incentivizing you pulling on the new banners, which is fine. I'm not going to blame a gacha game to incentivize you to pull on the banners, but it just feels really shit, and it stings a little bit when they specifically go like, oh, you know what? Electro and Havoc, the ones we just ran on the banners previously, now you'll have a little bit more of a harder time. It stings a little bit. It feels kind of ass. I wouldn't feel the same way if it was like Fusion or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, but it feels like they're specifically targeting certain characters, specifically targeting Shangli Yao, specifically targeting Camellia. It just feels kind of ass. And now we have Glacial and Aero, the boy Gion, because nobody has Gion. Nobody pulled for Gion, right? So nobody's got like a great arrow DPS, right? So really your option is Carlotta. And people with Carlotta, your Zezzies are gonna have like a far better time with this, the enemies in the tower as a whole seem tougher as well. Well, they might seem tougher, maybe because there's HP inflation. We don't know. We can't confirm this. Or it might be because we don't have that increased attribute damage bonus. It feels like they're tankier. So that could also be what is happening. It could be either of the things. It could be both in combination. I would love to see the actual numbers. I would love to see the numbers and see like where it all stacks up. I really would. Does anybody use Calcaro? I do sometimes with Electro Tower exists. People can still use Calcaro. People can still get away with it, but it's just becoming a bit more painful. It's becoming a little bit more painful, and I want to see what other people have been saying about it. There might be HP inflation since S5 Gion can't clear 4-2 middle despite buffed. I'm pretty sure he can. Bro, there's 100% chance I can clear Gion middle floor 2. Don't worry. This was a skill issue. I did this like twice. I tried it twice. Listen, and I was like a second away. I was literally a second away. It's very clearable. They have Havoc and Electro enemies on the middle. It's not like you would want to Shang Liao or Camellia there anyways. Okay, that's fair. Okay. That's fair. I don't think there is HP inflation. Remember when survey comes to let them know. I just think that overall this is a step in the wrong direction. I like the fact that the towers on either side are really catered towards the new characters. I like that. If anything, make those final floors a little bit harder, or add in something, or add a new floor or something. Like make those on the other sides harder for those clears in this one, and leave middle tower alone. Let us use anybody we want, and it would make it so much better. It really would. So if we still want a full clear, then there's still like a difficulty for the either towers. Because right now on this one, what do we have? We have a on floor 4, enemy Spectro resistance decreased by 10%. And what's on the other side? Enemy Glacio resistance decreased by 10%. So yeah, this is interesting. But now we can't. You can use Yao on floor 1 and Camellia floor 2, but now we can't. Yeah, exactly. So this is, directly debuffed some of the strongest characters in the game that had just really come out or had their reruns, and it just feels a little bit shit. I just found Wu was streaming with 1,000 viewers, but she doesn't like the British. Oh, off with her head. Don't like British? I'm kidding, that's a joke. I was making a British-centric joke. Don't come for me. Yeah. I think they need to remove debuff. That's the only bad part for me. I agree. Remove characters that are I don't care about this. I don't care about this as much. Keep the Glacier resistance and Arrow resistance decrease, but just get rid of the Electro res and Havoc res resistance increase. It's really shit. It's kind of ass. It is kind of giga ass. I think it's still too early for this debuff in TOA. Sure. I think the reason why they haven't done this before now is that we actually have like a roster of characters to work with now. We have Glacio DPSs, we have an Aero DPS, we have Electro DPSs, we have Havoc DPSs, we have Fusion ones. We have a full spectrum of DPS characters now to actually use in these modes, right? And now they can get away with it, right? Before, it would kind of be really shit if it was like, oh, the enemy is Glacio resistance decreased by 10%, and we have no really good Glacio like DPS, right? That would be kind of ass. But now we have a full roster of characters. I think this is why they've introduced it here, and I don't like it. I really don't. I think it's a step in the wrong direction. I think Hazard would have been way better with the attribute damage bonus as it was. Kuro pretty much said, you ain't using Shang Liao and Camellia here. You already have skill issue and you're cheesing TOA. Oh, is that what they're doing? Oh, that would it. Yo, these characters are too strong for you, Traveler. Potion Seller, we're going into battle and I need your strongest Resonator.
I am going into battle and I want your strongest
Oh, Traveler, you don't want my Shangli Yao and they're too strong for you. We had to put the Havoc resistance and Electro resistance on them. You would die, Traveler. You would die if you were to use these resonators. His Shangli Yao is way better build than mine after 10 plus tries. He switched Farina for Shorekeeper. My Shangli Yao could clear before with no problem, so I don't know what he has debunked, but it ain't working for me. Well, there we go. I think also not having Shorekeeper is a pain in the ass for people. I feel like Shorekeeper is like really a must-have right now. She really feels like a must-have character, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, am I gonna have to pull for Shorekeeper when she reruns? Am I gonna have to do that so I can comfortably use like other teams? Like, that's gonna be pain. I don't like that. I don't like that idea. I really don't. So how about we see from the Saint Man himself for a bit what he thinks about the new TOA. We will watch all the video.
It appears that some people are not very happy with the latest iteration of the Tower of Adversity. And it does appear that there have been some updates made, especially to the middle tower, where there used to be a general 30% attribute damage buff to basically every single character, making it a lot more easy to use your entire roster on the floor.
It was
now
future-proofing.
looks like instead of that, there has been a decrease to the resistance of 2 attributes in particular.
So it's not just like they've added these buffs and debuffs. They've taken away a 30% damage attribute bonus. That's a lot. That's why I think some people think there's HP inflation. No, we're just not getting that overall buff anymore too. That's what I think. That's my personal hypothesis.
And in this circumstance, it's going to be Glacio and Arrow, along with a resistance increase to 2 attributes of Electro and Havoc. And so a lot of people are having trouble with this game mode in particular because of the fact that, well, it does seem a little bit more predatory than the previous iterations.
A little bit more, yes. Yes, it is indeed a little bit more predatory on Kuro's side. And they've been so good. They've been so good to kind of avoid some of those practices, some of those incentives that other gachas do. You know, I think Honkai Star Rail Memory of Chaos is pretty bad for that. The amount of like different characters that I won't get into it. But holy crap, Memory of Chaos makes pulling characters so predatory in that game.
Primarily due to the fact that with this increase in Electro and Havoc resistance, that to a degree invalidates some of the prior releases that we've had.
It makes it way harder to brute force your Shangli Yao, your Camellia, absolutely. When you think about it, they also buffed almost everyone except Jinxie. I couldn't clear before I got Nightmare Echo on my Gion, but I did it first try after using it. Ooh, really? Oh, really? So are you implying that you are almost required to farm these Nightmare Echoes? So that maybe actually gathering these Nightmare Echoes will make your success in doing TOA far greater. Ooh, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. If you're struggling in TOA, farm the Nightmare Echoes for your respective DPS. That's a really interesting... I've not even farmed them yet. That would be so interesting. That is actually such a really good point to make. That's a really good point to make.
Like Camellia or Zhang Liao or even Yinlin herself, which for a lot of players could be frustrating.
Yes, it's still shitty because they buffed TOA right after the update. So we have less time to build. I think they could have waited another 2 weeks before doing this. I agree. Wait people to farm new Echo sets and then do it. I think maybe by the 2nd or 3rd reset of TOA, when people have farmed new relics and they're on their characters and got their Nightmare Echoes where they want to, I think they might be seeing better success. All I want to say is if you do farm new sets, don't you dare recycle your old sets. That's true. That's so true. Don't sack off your old ones. Keep them for now. Technically, it's more than a small damage buff since it saves time through animations. You cast it, then swaps over, cast, and then do damage. Exactly. It literally damage per second. It literally increases your damage per second, your DPS, right? It's a DPS increase. Takes less time, you do the same damage in less time. That is a plus. That, especially in TOA when there is a timer. You get about 1k tunes, if not by exploring. New sets are fine for HP boost and TOA, but the resistance debuff is so bad it was needless. But I feel like any way to help yourself, I feel like is a good thing. It's like the same issue of day 1 of TOA. No one has built characters and was expected to clear it. I accept that. I expect that as a thing. I do accept that. Totally.
Frustrating, considering the fact that they were just on banner in 1.4, right? The patch right before 2.0. And so obviously when you take a look at the design of this floor, I'll go ahead and pop it open on my screen myself so you all can take a look, and we're gonna go ahead and walk you all through it. I'll give
According to Plodwen, new set on Colada is 25% damage increase over Glacio set. Ooh, really? Ooh, that's huge.
my take on the design of the floor, where some problems would be regardless of whether or not you had already picked Camellia or Zhang Liao, and what you can kind of do to ease some of the suffering here. The first floor, again, with those resistance reductions and increases, the first floor is Crownless. Crownless is a Havoc attribute monster, TD, boss.
So you ain't going to be using Camellia anyway.
Camellia against him anyways. And so really the only option that seems singled out here, right, that doesn't necessarily, that has like a weakness, is going to be the Zhang Liao Yinlin team or the Calcaro Yinlin team. Not too bad. We'll give that one a try. Next up, you're going to clearly see here that there are two...
Stop using Prodwen, or at least take it with a grain of salt. Yeah, we all know that Prodwen has its issues. We all know that Prodwen has its issues. You also get buffs passively just by equipping them, so it more than just the skill being a summon. That's fair.
Resistant monsters here, right? This is going to be the Vitrium Dancer, the Questless Knight, all Electro, and then the Tempest Mephis, another Electro monster. And so the idea here is that, well, you could use Camellia here, but you're going to face some debuffs for using her. We'll give her a try as well. However, on the other sides of the tower, right, all we're seeing is a decrease in Spectro, and with the final boss speed.
I think the two sides of the tower aren't really that bad. I think they're fine. But yeah. It's really the middle that's kind of like throwing people through a loop a little bit. I understand concerns about tailors, but Prodwen's calcs are accurate. I have no clue. I have no clue if Prodwen's calculations are accurate. I'm still an old set for Carlotta, unfortunately. Still farming new. Hey, that's fine. I would love to see how much your Carlotta improves when you get a new set. I could only follow Prodwen, to be honest. I have no other kind of guide to play rotation. Why do you talk in caps? Why do you talk in caps? I'll be real. You don't have to shout at me. I feel like you're shouting at me every time you do. Like you could just speak normally. Why are we holding caps, man? Best way to learn Resonators teams. Make I win to lose sweetly. I win to lose, especially since he focuses on and try to pick up and choose info and find what's coming info. Cool. Left tower was bad too. Right one feels like old tower floors. Ooh. The game also keeps refusing to give Glacier % or attack % on Frost to resolve. Bro, also, let's also talk about how Father's Echoes is a fucking nightmare. And that a lot of the Echoes, they drop like 4 different sets. They drop like 3-4 different sets, and it's really hard to actually get the Frosty Resolve, like, actual Echoes. Just make the middle towers holograms, fuck it. That'll make 2A more interesting, just put fucking holograms in there. Don't try to get the desire sensor is real. Yeah. Also, I also have my own gripes with Tower of Adversity in general. I don't really find it that fun. To me, I find myself having more fun throwing myself at hologram 6s than I do doing TOA. And I think it's because set and setting. It's supposed to be Tower of Adversity. Yeah, it doesn't feel like we're really going through a tower, apart from like clicking on floors. Like, Wuwa does such a good job at being quite immersive. They do a pretty good job with their set and settings. That's why Elusive Realm is so popular. A lot of people, it's their favorite game mode. And I love Elusive Realm too. I can't wait for it to come back. And I feel like if they made TOA more immersive, like actually progressing through a tower, going floor to floor, having to pick new teams as you go through, would just make it feel more fun and engaging. Make it less Genshin-y, making it less Spiral Abyssy, and more wooery would actually be, I think, like a huge thing. I know that that's got nothing to do with like boss mechanics, nothing to do with the game mechanics or anything like that. Just changing the set and setting alone, I think, will make TOA also just a more fun experience to do. Woo is great at immersive modes, and I want to see them really lean into that, because that is their strength. The more Woowa is Woowa, the better it is. The more Woowa is similar to Genshin, the worse it becomes. And I think that is okay to say. Thank you all for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below what you think. I'm live every day on Twitch, twitch.tv Cabinetz. Go follow my Twitter. I'm shitposting there every single day. Join my Discord. We got a lot of people joining, a lot of awesome faces, a lot of great people to meet. And I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.
Very, very good point. It is a very, very good point. And most people will be like, ah, fuck, he got me.